Yes, hello. I'm Bernard Keavy. I think I've started about 20 seconds too early, but oh, there we go, bang on 6 o'clock. Right, I promised I'd talk about today about 8 strategies to double your sales and double your profits in 2018. Now, just to put it in context, where this is all coming from is that in order to grow any business, first of all, you need to have a strategy and a series of plans written down. If you start in writing, it doesn't happen. If it is in writing and you repeat them to yourself often, and you rewrite them often, and you visualize where you want to be and where you want to take your business, then it's got much more chance of happening because it's in your subconscious mind. So it all depends on having written plans, but also there's more to it than that, and that's probably a separate session. However, once you've got those plans, what you've then got to do is allow time to actually implement them. Now, this is what I talked about yesterday, but effectively, where a lot of people end up, it's not just business people, it's everybody, but obviously, you know, it really matters if you're a business person. Where a lot of people end up is they have things that have got a deadline over here and things that haven't got a deadline. And what a lot of people do is they have what are called to-do lists, as you know. Now, the thing about to-do lists is they have things on them that you have to do. And that's the problem, because the reason you have to do them generally is because they have a deadline to them. Now, it's really good to have a to-do list which goes from the most important down to the least important. So this is important up here, this is unimportant down here. And it's really important, it's really good, sorry, to work through in order of importance. Unfortunately, where a lot of people go wrong is they never get round to do all of these important things up here, which is working on your business and working on yourself and your own skills and attitudes as well. But this is the stuff that really makes a difference. But because it doesn't have a deadline, it doesn't get done, because all the things that have the deadline tend to be on the to-do list and they get done. So what you really need is you need to diarize time every day in your diary to work on the things that make a difference, the things that will improve you and improve your business. And Stephen Covey, who wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, refers to that as quadrant 2. So that's the important bit. Now, it's been proven that every minute you spend planning and organizing saves you 10 minutes in trial and error and execution. So it does make sense. And you do hear people say, well, I haven't got time to do that because I'm so busy doing what I do that I just haven't got time to set that aside in my diary. But actually you have, because if you put it in the diary, it will save time. Right, now then what we saw was it's all about the 80-20 rule. So the thing about that diarised time is that's when you work on the 20% of things that get you 80% of your results. And actually, you can prove there's 4 to 5% of things get you 2/3 of your results, because 20% of 20% is 4 and 80% of 80% is 64. So very few of the things that you do on a daily basis get you the vast majority of your success and your results. And therefore, if you spent 3 or 4 times as long doing those things, you get 3 or 4 times the results that you currently get. Now, to remind you, the things you really need to focus on, there's 5 of them. How many leads you generate, what percentage of them you convert. And now, if you know those figures, which most people don't, to be honest, but if you do, that'll tell you your number of customers. If you then know, on average, how often your customers buy from you each year and how much they spend each time, that then takes you down to your turnover. And then if you know your gross margin, how much profit you make on everything you sell, that tells you your gross profit. And then you take off your other overheads, your fixed overheads they normally are, and that'll give you your net profit. Now, what we saw yesterday was that if you make just very small differences, help if I got the right card, I suppose. If you make very small differences, you can actually transform your business. So what I showed you yesterday was that if you made a 1% a week improvement over 90 days, that's just 3 months, 1% a week over 90 days gives you a 14% improvement. And if you did a 14% improvement in each of those 5 variables, then in the example we looked at yesterday, we took our gross profit from 36,000 to 69,000. Now, obviously, the figures are different for every business. But the way it works is, by the time you take off your fixed overheads, what you'll find is that just making those steady weekly improvements in just those 5 key things will double your profits, and you could do it in 90 days. And that's all very well, but then you're thinking, okay, so how do I do that then? Well, first of all, you've set an hour aside a day, let's say. Well, that's 5 hours a week. So what if you spent an hour a week on each of the 5 things? Would it be feasible that you could make a 1% improvement by spending an hour a day on one of the 5, and obviously going through the week, all 5? Well, yes, it would, if you knew what to do. Well, this is what you do. These are 8 strategies that basically work for 95% of businesses. I'm also going to chuck an extra couple in as well, by the way, so but these work. So first one is advertising. Now, when I say advertising, what I mean is promotion, any sort of promotion or flyers or any sort of promotional material you use. But basically, there's a way to do it. And the way you do it is you have to follow what's called the conversion equation. It's a formula. And this formula basically says, I know who my ideal client or customer is, and I know what their major issue or concern is and why they will buy. And because I know that, I have what's called an interrupt at the top of whatever this promotional material is. And this interrupt basically says, you've got this issue or problem that you want to solve and you haven't got a solution. And then you have what's called an engage, and the engage is normally a subheadline. So the headline blares out at them what their problem or issue is that they're worried and thinking about. And because it's a conversation going in their head, that wakes them up. It puts them into what's called uptime. And then the engage says, I can offer you a solution. And that's now captivated their interest and drawn them in. You then have the main body in the whatever it is, which basically is called an educate, and that explains how this works. And then you offer them a free piece of information as to how they can get this thing without actually trying to sell to them, because they're not ready to buy yet, because they're on the buyer's journey, which basically says they're very unlikely to be now buyers. They might be future buyers, but they'll need more information. So interrupt tells them this is your issue or concern. Engage says I can promise you a solution. Educate says this is how it works. Offer says leave me your details and I will send you information to show you how it works and to help you on your buyer's journey should you decide at some future date that you wish to buy this thing and work out who to buy it from. And that's called effective advertising, because you're following the conversion equation. The second thing that is a very powerful strategy you could use is joint ventures. Now, joint ventures basically means that, I think I put a tweet out this morning, no one who's ever been successful has done it all alone. You always need other people to help. And the thing about joint ventures is that other people have got the sort of leads that you want, they've got the connections that you want, they're in the same marketplace as you are, but they're not competing with you. So it makes a lot of sense for you to help each other generate business. Now, you can do this through having a formal arrangement or paying an affiliate fee or paying commission or just referring to each other or doing joint presentations, joint marketing. But basically, joint ventures with the right people makes a huge difference. An example would be in the wedding industry, the photographer, the wedding planner, the jeweler, the florist, they can all help each other because they're all in the same marketplace, but they're dealing with the clients at different times and they're not competing with each other. Very powerful. I've heard that described as the most powerful business generating strategy on the planet, bar none, by someone called Carl Bryan, who's a colleague of mine. Third thing that works very well is having an upsell or a cross-sell. You've probably heard about this before, but very few people do it. The upsell basically says you go into McDonald's or whatever and they say, burger please, and they say, would you like chips with that, French fries? That's an upsell. Or they say, sorry, that's a cross-sell. Or would you like salad with that? That's a cross-sell. But then they might say, would you like to go large? Would you like a larger portion? That is an upsell. Well, anyone could do that. So whatever it is you sell, you could have alternative products that you could sell alongside them. So shoes and polish, obvious example. Or you could have offerings and packages where you have a larger scale or larger size, which costs more. And you can actually have another one here, which is another one down here called a downsell. And it's been proven if you have 3 offerings, 80-something% of people select the middle one, which basically means that, you know, but some will go for the top end. So an upsell or a cross-sell, it's been proven that if you implement that strategy, 34% of the time, people will buy either an extra item or a larger item. So it's a highly effective strategy. Most people don't do it. They might be aware of it, but they don't do it. Fourth one, expanding your product range. Now, what this means is that rather than just sell what you sell, have you got associated products that you can also offer? So rather than turn a customer away, could you sell them something else if they don't want what your primary offering is? This is where the joint ventures come in, because if you've got a joint venture with a range of people who sell complementary things to what you do, then you could sell their products and services if you can't fulfill the offering, and maybe you could earn something through an affiliate fee, through commission, through an introductory fee, or maybe just in terms of, you know, I'll sell this for you, you owe me a favor, you owe me business, you owe me a client. So expanding your product range, very effective. Downsell, this basically means that you meet someone, a customer, a client, who says they can't afford to buy what you're selling. Now, you don't want to discount, and you don't want to reduce your prices, but what you could do is you could have another offering which isn't as good or as, you know, much value, but it's cheaper. And the idea then is that they become a client or a customer of yours with this lower price offering, and because you've now got them as a client or a customer, they're likely at some future stage to be there, you know, to upgrade to the full offering because they're actually customers of yours. And once they've made the first step to buy, they're more likely to upgrade. So it's called a downsell. A drip campaign, this is a really important one. At any given time, very few people are ready to buy now. They're normally only about 1 to 3% of prospects are now buyers. The other 97% are either never buyers, which is 30%, or future buyers, which is the other 67%. And the trouble is you don't know which are which. But what they don't want is to be sold to, because if you try and sell to people who are not ready to buy now, all you do is you scare them off. It's the fight or flight response in the brain. What they do want is education, information. So if you can capture their contact details through your promotional material up here, and then you can offer them free information. So it might be an ideas guide or a checklist, or information pack, or pros and cons of using this particular product, or things to look out for in the marketplace, anything of that nature. It's information, it's risk-free, and you're not trying to sell them now. And the thing is, you can then supply them with regular pieces of information, because it's been proven that buyers need anything from 8 to 12 or more contacts before they're ready to buy, generally. So if you're supplying regular pieces of information, you'll be amongst the 20% of sellers who stay with the customers, the prospects, long enough that when they become buyers, they buy from you. So you'll have eliminated 80% of the competition, because they won't actually stay with the prospects long enough to actually get the business. So it's called a drip campaign, and it fits in with the fact that most buyers go on a buyer's journey. Discounting is something that shouldn't be encouraged, because if you cut your prices 10% and say your gross margin is 40%, if you cut your prices 10%, you reduce your gross profit by 25%. You would actually have to sell a third more just to break even, and even then you won't break even, because you'll have extra costs associated with handling the extra volume of sales. So you probably have to sell a lot more than that. So discounting is very, very rarely a good idea, other than if you've got surplus stocks and you've got a sale and you need to get rid of stuff, which that can work. But generally discounting's bad. But what does work is adding extra value into your offering. So you can add in extra profits, extra products, extra services, give extra value. Now, the thing is, I worked with a restaurant owner recently who, the idea of giving free desserts came up. And the thing about a free dessert was, it's on the menu at £5 a go, but it only costs about 10 or 20p to produce it. So if you offer a free dessert, that's much more effective than discounting, because you're offering incredibly higher value, but it's not actually costing you very much more. So, and you'll find that your profits from the individual transaction will be a lot higher by bundling and offering extra value than they will by discounting. So the golden rule is never discount, always offer extra value, because it's value that people want. And then the 8th one that can work is working on your costs. Now, when I talk to some people I work with in America, they can use interns to reduce their labor costs. I don't think it's quite so easy here, but you can do other things. You can look at the number of suppliers you deal with. If you deal with 6 or 7 suppliers, if you cut that number to 2 or 3, you might get better deals. You can negotiate, better terms with your suppliers. You can look at your costs generally, because the odds are that there are things that you're paying for that have built up over the years that basically you don't need anymore. So working on your costs, again, a 10% improvement there can make a big difference to any business. Now, the other 2 effective ones I thought I'd mention are, first of all, and this works for any business that's been going for any length of time, it's called customer reactivation. Because what you'll find is that there are customers who used to deal with you and who still trust you, and there's no reason why they've stopped dealing with you other than they've got out of the habit. And all you need to do is to recontact them. So it probably needs an offer, and it probably needs a properly crafted letter or communication. But if you can adopt that strategy with your customers, past customers who stop dealing with you, it's a fifth the cost of generating new customers. So reactivating old customers is 5 times as cost effective as generating new customers. And you know, an awful lot of businesses have got customers who they've stopped dealing with, or stopped dealing with them, and they're not really doing anything. They haven't really got a system in place to reactivate them. So customer reactivation. And the other one is a referral strategy. Again, the same idea. If you can get referrals from existing customers, that's much more cost effective than generating new customers from scratch. So have you got a referral system? Do you reward people to give you referrals? And if so, do all your customers know what that referral system is and what the rewards basis is? So again, that's a highly effective strategy. So I would suggest that that gives you 10 good ideas there. Now, some of them are effective for increasing your number of leads. So better advertising and joint ventures will increase your number of leads. An upsell or cross-sell strategy, upsell cross-sell strategy, that will give you more transactions, but it will also mean that the average price you get from each transaction is higher. So that'll increase your average prices. Having a wider product range will both increase your price per average transaction and increase your number of transactions. Having a downsell will mean that you'll sell to more customers, so it increases your conversion rate. Having a drip campaign means you'll sell to more customers, more prospects, so increases your conversion rate. Bundling means that you'll make much more profit than if you have to resort to discounting. So bundling will increase your profits, and working at reducing your costs will increase your profits. Reactivating customers will increase both your number of sales and your profit, because it's far less expensive to generate customers that way. And a referral strategy ditto. So those strategies I've just been through, they are the ways that you can increase the 5 key variables of how many leads you generate, what proportion you convert to give you a number of customers, how often they buy off you each year, and how much they spend each time to give you your turnover, and then what your gross margin is to give you your gross profit. Between the 8 there plus the extra 2 I mentioned, if you're working an hour a day on your business and all you're doing is concentrating on the 5 key variables, then you should be easily able to make at least a 1% a week improvement in each of the 5. And if you do that, you'll double your profits in 90 days. So this is Bernard Keavy signing off. I said it'd be 10 minutes. I've gone a bit longer than that, but I hope you found that useful and informative. And I'll be on at the same time again tomorrow. And thank you very much for listening. And I'd like to say hello to Howard, Graham, Nicola, and Anne, and others. So thank you very much for tuning in.